Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm part of the Ent-r-e-novators project in which I lead a work package on citizen engagement. Throughout a series of videos, I will introduce you to the world of citizen and stakeholder engagement. In this first video, I will be talking about why we would want to engage citizens and stakeholders in research. Many research findings are never implemented in the real world. One research study by Ballas and Warren showed that as little as 14% of published evidence is translated into clinical practice. And even when research findings get implemented in the real world, the mean wait between innovation and application is 17 years. One reason for this is because traditional research doesn't take into account implementation into the real world from the start of a research project. One example case that we are all familiar with is the COVID vaccine. Several vaccines were approved for emergency use after a rapid research procedure, but there were challenges with uptake of the vaccine. One study investigated what the difficulties were with implementing the vaccine. They found that in developing countries, affordability and accessibility were barriers to implementation. On the other hand, in developed countries, acceptability of the vaccine was the main barrier to uptake. This shows that it's important to consider the context and people involved in your research intervention from the start, if you want your research to have an impact in the real world. Another advantage of involving citizens and stakeholders from the start of a research project is that it democratizes the research process. Science becomes more accessible to the public by broadening participation to citizens and stakeholders. As a result, priority setting in research can be guided by society. In later stages of the research process, having data open to citizens fosters transparency and accountability in research. Citizens and stakeholders can experience a sense of ownership over the research process, and science literacy and equity are promoted. However, engaging citizens and stakeholders requires specific skills from researchers that are different than those required for traditional research. In order to foster engagement skills, the Ent-r-e-novators project has a work package on citizen engagement. One of the objectives is to focus on increasing engagement competences in researchers. For this purpose, we have created a training for engagement competences, which includes a game to identify citizen science principles, a game to recognize different levels of engagement, and a self-assessment game for engagement skills. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video, you will learn more about how to recognize citizen science and the first game that we have developed.